Good day. On behalf of the Medical Women's Association of Nigeria, the Center for Health Education and Life Promotion, and the Medical Women International Association, I welcome you all to the 32nd International Congress of Medical Women International Association, taking place in Taiwan. This presentation is part of a panel discussion. I'll be presenting the results from a study carried out in Nigeria titled Workplace Violence Against Female Doctors, Real or Perceived. I am Dr. Popoola Margaret, and in conjunction with other co-authors, we carried out this study in Nigeria. All of my co-authors are female doctors residing and working in Nigeria. They are spread across different subspecialties in medicine. I'll be taking you through this presentation following this outline: the aim of the study, through the methodology, the results, and the study limitations. According to the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health Administration, workplace violence is any violent act, including physical assaults and threats of assaults, directed towards persons at work or on duty. Workplace violence against women, and by extension female doctors, is one of the oldest global public health issues that is still of great concern. Activism from women organizations over the years broke the silence on violence against women. It is, however, hard to believe that female doctors who render very essential services will be subject to violence of any kind. What is the aim of this study? The aim of this study is to determine if workplace violence against female doctors in Nigeria is real or perceived. The objectives are as follows. 1, to determine the factors responsible for workplace violence against female doctors. Who are the perpetrators? And also, how to curb this violence. The methodology. The methodology of this study is that of, first, a structured questionnaire, which was administered via an online survey through an app called Survey Hat. And this study was targeted at female medical doctors residing and working in Nigeria. And the study lasted for the period of 1 week. These are the results. A total of 172 people took the survey. Of this number, 88.37% were female doctors spread across 29 subspecialties in medicine. The respondents were female doctors between the ages of 20 to 69, and those between the age range of 30 to 39 were the most in this study. And this is very important because available data show that the younger doctors are actually more at risk of workplace violence. Patient relatives were found to top the list of those who were most violent towards female doctors. 79.07% of the respondents described verbal abuse and intimidation from senior female doctors as a major form of violence in the workplace. Workplace violence from male colleagues brought up the rear from about 75 to 75.58%. When asked if the respondents had experienced violence at work. About 72.67% of the female doctors clearly stated that they had experienced violence in the workplace. And of this number, 65.70% experienced verbal abuse. Also, when asked if workplace violence against female doctors is real or perceived, a whopping 77.33% of the respondents asserted that violence against female doctors is real. A number of abuses were found to be perpetrated in the workplace against female doctors, and top on the list was verbal abuse, closely followed by emotional and psychological abuse, then mental abuse, physical abuse, and in some cases, written abuse, and a number of other types of abuses which are not documented here. So many reasons were enumerated for workplace violence against female doctors. Top on the list was that patients' relatives feel they can intimidate female doctors just because they are females, and it's easy to intimidate them. Then, of course, some male colleagues also intimidate female doctors because they feel the need to assert their authority. And then, of course, many other people intimidate them because the female doctors are perceived as weak. And also within the hospital setting, there are a number of other health workers who feel intimidated by the female doctors and so go out of their way to make life difficult and unbearable for them, thereby perpetrating some form of abuse or the other. And of course, a number of persons also feel that the female doctors are proud, and so they find it necessary to go out of their way to abuse them. Sometimes, some of the workplace abuse experienced by the female doctors may be offshoots of domestic violence ongoing in the home front. And so this study found it necessary to explore the reasons for domestic violence being experienced at home. And top of the list of the reasons for domestic violence against female doctors is found to be spousal inferiority complex, followed closely by the husband's need to assert his headship, and then, of course, differences in income. To look more deeply into this matter, the number of registered medical doctors in Nigeria rose to 74,543 in 2020. Of this number, 36.3% were females, which is actually an improvement from the 28.3% recorded in 2019. Only a fraction of that number took this survey. However, the spread of the respondents was nationwide, so one would say the results could be representational. However, future studies can expand the base of the study to see if the results will be confirmed. Work-related violence is the third leading cause of occupational injury fatality in the United States of America. It is also the second leading cause of death for women at work. This aspect was not explored by this study during the survey. As a result, it leaves a dearth of knowledge in this area, that should be tackled in future researches. The actual scope of workplace violence is difficult to capture since more than 50 to 80% of acts may go unreported. This index study agrees with this, as shown by the fact that many of the affected doctors refused to report the incidents of the violence. Sometimes, what constitutes violence or abuse may vary across cultures and climes. Also, scope may vary depending on what is considered as workplace environment. For this study, the scope of study was greatly limited, as the areas that constitute the world of work were not included in the study. Looking at the subspecialties of the doctors that took this survey, it becomes clear that irrespective of specialty, all female doctors come in contact with some form of violence or its sequelae, and not only those in psychiatry or emergency settings, as has been documented by other studies. Globally, female doctors are at high risk of psychological violence, mostly perpetrated by patients, patient relatives, male colleagues, senior colleagues, and visitors, though many cases go unreported. This is in tandem with the findings of this study, where all of these categories of people were implicated, with patient relatives sitting atop the ladder. In this study too, many female doctors failed to report incidences of abuse or violence committed against them. Studies have shown that people who experience psychological violence are 7 times more likely to be victims of physical violence. This study clearly showed verbal abuse as one of the highest deployed methods of violence against female doctors, and mostly perpetrated by their senior female colleagues. Verbal abuse is a potent form of psychological abuse. This study also showed clearly that the type of violence perpetrated mostly against female doctors were the type 1 and type 2 violence. What are the study limitations encountered? 1, small sample size. 2, short time of the study, just 1 week. 3, the concept of the world of work was not taken into consideration in this study. If it was, the scope of the study would have been larger with more representative results. Future study areas. Number 1, increase study scope to cover a wider base, for example, the 6 geopolitical regions of the country. We also recommend that future researchers should explore possible real solutions to these problems. Number 3, include the world of work to increase the scope of the study. The world of work expands the idea of the workplace to encompass all aspects of the working environment. The physical workplace, which may include the home, especially if the home is the workplace. Commuting to and from work, attending a training or a work-related social event, and then of course, the digital world, and so on and so forth. In conclusion, this study demonstrated that workplace violence against female doctors in Nigeria is real. It cuts across many institutions nationwide, and appropriate measures must be put in place to check its occurrence. These are my references. Appendix 1 shows the concept of the world of work. Appendix 2 also tries to explain more about the types of violence. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.